the reason Man versus Fat works is it taps into the natural competitiveness that blokes have. That's not the defining thing for why it works. Why it works is the compassion.
Welcome back to Lose to Win, the podcast with myself, Jack, Josh, Ben, and our very first returning guest, Super Steve Couch. How are you?
Good evening, gents. All right?
Really good.
Yeah, good evening, folks. I'm good, thank you.
Great
Good to have you back, Steve.
Yeah.
How
have you been then, Steve?
Yeah, I've been all right. Bit of a headache today, but that's easing off now. And apart from that, I'm fine and dandy.
Wonderful.
Good.
It is really good to have you, mate. I know there's a few things that we want to talk about. There's a few things that you want to share within the Man v Fat world, but also it's always a good kind of gauge to see, especially moving into the last season of this current squad rotation, to gauge what you think. I know you give us your spiel every Saturday morning, which we will wait for, but we certainly would like to hear it from the horse's mouth on kind of our little our school report, see how we're all doing and what we could be doing better maybe. But first, I think we'll make Josh squirm as much as possible and get him to read this week's roundup, which I can't think of where he steals it from. It's very creative and very good. But if you want to fire away, Josh, go on, mate.
It always strikes me it's very, very well written. I don't know where you get it from, Josh, but it's very good.
I should probably clarify that, yes, Steve, you have the 100% hand in writing this, but and I cock it up every single week in some form.
You put your little twist on it, mate. Your little twist.
Remove
so
things
what
out
you're
of
saying
it.
is Steve writes it and you butcher it.
Yes, basically every week. Anyway, last week it was one for the ages, as Steve puts it. If the previous week was something of a false start to the season, then this time everyone kind of came flying out of the blocks like Usain Bolt with a point to prove and a jetpack. So the losses kept coming all night, edging the collective total ever higher. So 20, 30 and even 40 kilo barriers were broken. It couldn't have gone much any better, really. Well, it did, really. The final reckoning saw the league lose a staggering 54.3 kilos, which is phenomenal, really. I'm not sure if we've ever broken 50 kilos before, but frankly, who cares? So whether or not we celebrate this as a record-breaking week, which it may well be, it certainly deserves to be celebrated generally. So definitely. That's a huge congratulations to the league as a whole.
I don't think we've
more
broken
than a
that
quarter
before.
of. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know. Steve, do you know?
I don't think we have. Steve, do you think we've broken that before?
No, we may have done. We've had big weeks before, but I can't remember one that's been more than that, which is why I hedged my bets in the report and said it may or may not. But
it's
way,
substantial,
it's
isn't
huge.
it? It is a substantial effort.
Yeah, indeed. That's more than a quarter of last season's entire total in a single week. So very good. It's very rare that we can take out an entire Kylie Minogue in one go. But that's what's happened last week. So phenomenal week all round. So dozens of individuals making purposeful, committed, good choices right across the club. So as we said, very, very good going. On to the results. So most of the games were close run things on the pitch, and ref Ian was full of praise for the spirit in which they were played, which is not always the case,
No.
but mostly the case, to be fair. All 8 teams scored, and 3 of the 4 had one goal margin of victory on the pitch, which meant that the scales were critical, essentially. So the overall results then, our Blacks lost 15-4 to the Purples.
15-4?
Yes, I know. It was tragic.
I think that was the one that wasn't within a goal on the pitch.
Yes, it was.
That was the one exception to that.
You think? Well.
Yeah. What was it, like 6-1, 5-1, Jack? Something like that on the pitch?
It was 6-1, yeah. It was a strong performance on and off for the Purples, and we march on. We're certainly putting a bit of a target on our back, but we march on and we're determined to win it this year.
Well, keep it up, mate. So the Greens won 7-6 against the Yellows. The Reds won 11-9 against the Whites, and the Oranges won 10-9 against the Blues. So
Ooh.
1 goal
Ben
in 2 of
is
them and
fuming.
2 in the other. So yeah.
Everybody loves the oranges, don't they?
Well done, oranges.
Yeah. Reds and Oranges were both narrowly beaten on the pitch, but came out victorious overall, as we've mentioned. So Purples and Greens enjoyed wins on both counts. So albeit by the narrowest of margins in the case of the Greens, that leaves the Purples and the Oranges with the 100% records in the main league and the Scales League, while the Blues have the only perfect start in the Pitch League, just 1 point ahead of the Purples and the Whites. I can see you fist bumping there. Absolutely. The
I think that's why I was cross why we didn't
Um,
win the whole thing, because it was a really good game, to be fair. One on a penalty, I might add.
Who took
Yes.
the decisive penalty, Ben?
Oh, that would be me.
yeah.
None of the other lads wanted it. The big boys, Dom, Billy,
Really?
Vic, they all bottled it. I said, I'll do it.
Love that.
Captain stepping up, eh?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's it. That's what it's all about.
This week's stats overall make impressive readings. So all 8 teams lost weight, with 5 of the 8 losing more than 5 kilos collectively. The Reds were the only team to break double figures, losing a collective 12 kilos,
Well done.
while the Greens and the Blues showed the kind of form that made them our last 2 champions, losing 8.5 and 8.2 kilos respectively. That was 72 players out of the 83 came to weigh in, so that's 87% turnout, which is impressive on its own.
Yeah, very good.
And 60 of those were lighter than on their previous weigh-in, which is definitely the most we've ever had in a single week. So
Yeah.
extremely impressive. There were no hat tricks, as it's only 2 weeks gone, but next week is the first opportunity to score one. So
There'll be a
we'll see
few
what
this
comes
week.
out. It's usually a bumper week, isn't it, in terms of
Yeah,
scores?
There'll be a
with hat
few.
tricks coming in for the next couple at least. But we do have one milestone man to honour. So Jamie Crispin continued his great start by joining the 5% club, and the 3-goal reward was enough to snatch victory in a close-fought game for his Reds team. So well done, Jamie. Fantastic achievement.
Yeah.
So
Well
on
done,
to the
mate.
next one. Very good.
I think funnily enough, I don't think Jamie had actually got that you got 3 goals for a milestone. And
Really?
bless him, his face lit up in the weighing room when I explained to him, you just scored 3 goals for your team there. That's
Love
3
that.
goals on tonight's score. And he was very happy.
Amazing.
Brilliant.
Impressive. 19 players took advantage of the last man standing lifeline, by the way, that you gave us very graciously last week, Steve.
Very much so.
And got themselves back into the competition, while 2 players who were already in took the opportunity to gain the grace week that they missed out on last week, or week 1. So 26 players were knocked out, leaving the field of 53. 19 of whom, including George and Rav, who were the 2 who picked up an extra grace week, have a grace week up their sleeve in general. So bonus goals will be awarded when we get down to the final 30, then again to the final 20, and then the last 10 will score a bonus goal every week that they stay in the competition. So I'm hoping we stave off for quite a while on that one,
that's quite a lot, isn't it?
until they
53
flood
is
in.
quite a lot.
It's a good one.
Yeah. The admin on that must be great fun, Steve.
Quite straightforward. I try and tick it off as we go through on the evening, and it's all sorted out while I'm sat there in the office before I come down to the pitch. So it's not a lot of work outside of that.
No, fair enough.
Fair enough. Well, you had a chance to make it sound very very admin heavy there.
Yeah.
Take it. I was going to say another, by the way, anyone with a perfect record of losses by week 4, which we shouldn't forget, will also get an additional goal. So with the same bonus repeated in weeks 8 and 12. So those additional goals on top of additional goals, which I know quite a few took a massive advantage of last season.
Yeah.
I can't remember precisely how many we had in last man at the end, Steve. Can you remember? Can anyone remember?
At the
6
end of the
people made it all the way through to the end of the season without getting knocked out, which is the most we've ever had.
Yeah. Which is amazing, especially going over Christmas as well. That's quite impressive.
Yeah.
Will you do another? I know you've done the 4 games in consecutive. Will you do? Is there another one down the line? Would there be like 8 and then
4, 8 and 12?
Oh, okay.
That's what Josh just said.
Oh, apologies. That's me.
Hey,
That's me
pay
not listening.
It just
properly.
goes to
Yeah,
show
sorry.
that Jack's not really listening.
I've got the Chelsea game on in the background. That's more interesting. I'm sorry.
By the way, players, who have joined the club in week 1 of this season, so James Stewart, 2 Jameses, Stewart and Jord, are counted as having lost weight in week 1 for the purposes of last man standing anyway, though not for anything else. So they were also awarded with an automatic grace week as a welcome to the club.
Nice.
They're the only freebies though, so having me last man standing shows no mercy, and we continue.
And anyone who's signed up and weighs in for the first time this coming Friday won't be in last man standing at all, because it's not fair, and the people who've been knocked out to then let other people in. So
fair enough.
That's fair enough. Yeah.
That's fair.
Because we've got a new member as well. Yeah. A goalkeeper. Yes.
Have you?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just going to be, I have to admit, a blessed relief amongst the team.
You've been out scouting, have you, mate?
Yeah.
Well, it's actually Connor's brother. So he's
cool.
out scouting. Yeah. So we're going to have a few brother partnerships in the league now, aren't we?
There is a few.
3 now. 3 sets.
Yeah, we've got 2 sets of brothers in purples alone.
Yeah.
So team of the week is another record breaker. So with 9 players making the 7-man team, there's a 3-way tie for last spot, by the way. And all 9 lost more than 2 kilos.
Wow.
So the top 3 places are taken by players undoing the damage of particularly bad weeks last time out, with Tom Davey leading the way with an insane 5.4 kilos lost
nuts
in a week. It's a brilliant one-off restoration, and hopefully the rest of the season will see Tom and the others carry on with more sustainable losses on a regular basis. So absolutely. So Tom does lead the list, as I said, with 5.4. Then we have Tim Winrow, who lost 4.2 kilos.
He'd had a dodgy one the week before, though, wouldn't he? He put a load of weight on. Celebrating, I think.
Yeah.
That's why he wears that bloody robe thing he wears.
I love that. Geordie, by the way, is third on the list with 2.9 kilos.
Well done.
And we are thrilled, by the way, to have him back.
Yeah, well done, mate.
Just lovely to see him. And then myself, I lost 2.7. Rob Bridges lost Cheers. That's I have to admit, I'll have to go back and check, but I think that's the first time I've made team of the week in 2.5 seasons.
Well done, mate.
So,
wow, is it?
Yeah.
It's amazing what happens when you take your shoes off.
In the first couple of seasons where I was ringing all the time, it was probably mostly by virtue of being the only person requesting it, but also, or one of the few, but also by the fact that I was in team of the week quite consistently. I think, if you remember, first couple of seasons,
you were,
and then the last 2 seasons I've not been anywhere near it. So
well done.
Well, this is I'm thrilled, to be honest. I'm thrilled on that one, but not to dwell too much on myself. So Rob Bridges lost 2.7 as well. Okay. Liam lost 2.4. Tim Greenwood lost 2.2. Micah lost 2.2, and Luke Hater lost 2.2. Was it not? It's Jord Hater. Sorry, I forgot to change the name.
Edit. You didn't read the edit, dude.
I didn't read the edit.
Not only
I did read the edit.
Steve upset Jordan. You've now upset Jordan.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Jordan. I did read the edit. I just forgot when I copy pasted it over.
It's all right.
Change it.
George was very
sorry, George. 2.2.
Very upset Saturday morning.
The thing is, though, the fact that we had to correct it, far more people will have noticed that Jordan was in team of the week than would have done if I just said it in the first place. So really, we've done him a favour.
Yeah. Highlighted him even more. Yeah.
So well done to all those in that one. So and well done to the entire club for knocking it out of the park. Weeks like this are fantastic boost, but what counts is churning out the steady, consistent losses week to week, as we've mentioned. It doesn't have to be spectacularly big numbers, but a steady stream of sustainable losses comes from consistent good choices. So
absolutely,
let's all live our best lives and get out there and onto the scales again this Friday. So that leads me into asking you guys how you're feeling about this week coming up.
Yes, I was a little bit disheartened this week by a small loss. At the end of the day, a loss is a loss, but I was a little bit disheartened. But I certainly have gone back and had a little look through my diary to kind of see and work out where I'm going wrong. And there's one glaringly obvious thing, that I'm not drinking anywhere near enough water. If anything, I'm almost not drinking anything at all, because I'm trying to avoid as much as possible the fizzy drinks, and in turn not replacing that, because I drink a lot of those, not replacing that with water or sensible solutions. And that I actually made myself a little bit poorly, I think, and very dehydrated from it, and that didn't help. So yeah, I'm much the same this week in terms of my positiveness towards it. I'm just hoping that I know that I'll be down and I'll be in a better place, which is good. And the added benefit, as I've spoken about before, with the two brothers now joining as well, we've got our little brotherly rivalry going on, but also spurring each other on the right way as well.
Yeah, that's good, mate.
And has this week been better as far as water goes?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. This is
excellent. This
bottle, for the sake of you guys that can see me, this bottle is my third 1 litre bottle of water drank today. Mate. So nice. I've been absolutely on it, been pissing like a racehorse.
That's it. That's the key.
But it is absolutely working, and I actually feel a lot better for it as well, which is good. Yeah. Bar the dodgy headache yesterday, which I can't pin down to anything, like you two mentioned already. It's good.
Well, it's funny because I partly think some of that's my 2.7 come back. I mean, for other reasons, but I think it's water as well, because I actually did drink quite a lot of water last week and the week before, in knowing that I wasn't drinking enough. And I think I've probably shed some of that water weight a little bit, because I was probably having water retention. I'll be interested to see what your weigh-in this week is, Jack. Especially if you've been drinking quite a bit more than usual. I'd be surprised if it was quite substantial.
I just can't stand. I've got to get back to enjoying drinking water. I remember when I was younger, I used to I'd go for one orange and I'd take 3, and I'd drink water like it was squash and water, like it was going out of fashion. And I think my parents, Jordan and Luke, will agree. My parents were really good with us as youngsters and really strict with us. And almost the moment I kind of could go and buy my own food and make my own choices, those choices were awful. Because I was almost deprived of it in the right way, parents doing the right thing for me. And went the absolute opposite way with it. So I want to just get back into good, healthy habits. I don't want to be seeing 2s and 3s and 4s on my weight loss. I want to be consistently 1 and a bit each week will certainly get me where I need to be.
Fine. Yeah, I think I find that I'm the same with water though, mate. I'm not a massive fan of drinking water, so I tend to drink squash, and it's only like 1 calorie a pint, which is, it's fine. It takes that edge off. But also, if you don't like water, just drink a pint really quickly. I find that really helps, because I don't like water, so I drink a pint, at least, a pint and a half, maybe 2 pints very first thing in the morning, and I just kind of neck it so it's in and done, and then I don't have to worry about that water, having to drink rancid water. And then I'll have a bottle of squash through the day and then refill that. But I also drink a lot of tea, black tea, which is quite good from any kind of fluid really, apart from sugary drinks, is good to get fluid intake in general. So don't beat yourself too much up about water.
No, definitely not.
The thing I've heard about water, which I think is really helpful, is while it's got absolutely no calories, your body has to burn calories in order to process it. So it's actually a net loss of calories. And if you drink iced water, that's
your body
even
works
better,
harder.
The body has to work harder to deal with the temperature.
Yeah.
As well as so it's a no lose situation.
Get drinking. Well, I've definitely done that this week. I've definitely been on the fluids, and I had a really good loss last week. I was really pleased. I feel like I said last week on the pod, I felt revitalized for this season, and I felt a change in me and a bit more focus. And I've carried on that this week, and I'm hoping I won't have as big a loss this week, I don't think, but I think it will be a loss, and I think it will be progressive. And I've always maintained if I can lose sort of half a kilo and upwards, that's a good level for me to be losing on a weekly basis, a sustainable loss. That's certainly what I did initially, and that's what I'm trying to get back to do now. and I'm hoping that will be the case this week. But I was really pleased with the whole team last week. To be fair, everyone lost weight, bar Dan, who'd been away for a long time and he'd been quite poorly. Yeah. So I can forgive him, bless him. And he wasn't vastly over his start weight, but he'd obviously been quite poorly for quite a long time. So it was good to have him back. But the rest of the team, every single one of them lost weight, and I was really, really proud, really pleased. And hopefully we'll be able to continue that moving forward. So yeah, overall very, very pleased and looking forward to this season. It's going okay so far. I'm a bit unlucky last week, I'm not going to lie. But fair play to the Oranges.
Yeah.
I cannot
take the rough with the
them.
smooth, haven't you?
Absolutely, really? Absolutely. Fine margins, though. That's what it's all about. It's all fine margins these days. I think it's really brilliant, actually, that the closeness that both on the pitch and off the pitch, the teams have really closed up, and I think it's great. It's great to be really good fun to be part of as well. So, looking forward to this Friday.
That pushes people, doesn't it? We go into every week knowing that it's going to be tough, but we need to push ourselves off the pitch as well as on the pitch to get those fine margins, and because it is fine margins now. So
yeah.
So I think it's really motivating the team. I mean, I'm sure you guys like your teams, but it definitely is for us, and we're trying.
Yeah, defo.
At least.
Yeah, super competitive.
I think
helps.
From a coach's perspective, I get the sense that all of the teams feel there's not a huge gulf between them and the rest of you, and that it's all up for grabs. Every week is a winnable game.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask you a few questions about that, Steve, but we can come to that in a second. But I was going to say, what kind of this season, in the last couple of seasons, have you seen any massive change in the leagues, in the league in general? I mean, I would say on the face value, it's probably more competitive, but I could be wrong.
I think it is. I think it's more competitive in a positive sense. I think there are fewer flashpoints of that competitiveness bubbling over in an unhelpful way. I think that they happen from time to time, but I think less than maybe they used to. I don't know if you guys would agree with that. But I think that is better. But the big thing, something that I noticed quite early on in coaching this league, was you often get an individual where suddenly you see that something has clicked and that they've really got their teeth into the whole weight loss thing, and they're just consistently losing good amounts week after week after week, and you can see that that's happening. It feels like, number one, it feels like there's more people like that now than there were, and number two, it feels like we have a culture in the club whereby it's easy for other people to catch that. There's enough of we've reached a tipping point so that new people coming in get that vision and get that sense of what they can do much, much quicker than maybe used to be the case.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Which is brilliant.
Yeah. The new people that have joined definitely seem to be buying into that earlier, or seem to be picking up on that earlier, which I think is great. I think it's great.
Yeah.
And I really feel like the people that do join really fit in. I don't think anyone's joined, certainly the new guys that I've been speaking to, they've all felt really at home really quickly. And I think that's testament to all of the lads who welcome everybody in with open arms, and that's brilliant. And that's why we're all here at the end of the day. That's why we're all still here, probably, to be fair.
One other thing I've noticed, which I notice more on the occasions that I go and do a cover session at another club, if their coach is away, and if sometimes I'm asked to go and fill in, compared to some other leagues, we are much, much, much better at everybody tracking. I make a note of the tracking numbers each week because I need to for the scores, and very often across all the people that turn up to weigh in, there is literally one or two people that haven't tracked across all 8 teams combined. Whereas I have done cover sessions where entire teams don't track, and the people that track in the league are the exception rather than the norm. And on 2 levels, I can't understand that, because for one thing, it's an easy goal to get. Every 3 players tracking is a goal, and why wouldn't you want those goals for your team?
No.
But also, as you guys all know, if you record your food, if you record what you're eating, it makes you more aware, it makes you think about it more, and it makes you more likely to make adjustments if you need to. Definitely. So it helps you to lose weight, and it helps you to get more goals for the team, quite apart from losing weight. And I think somewhere along the line, as a club, everybody's bought in on that, with maybe 1 or 2 exceptions. But that's not the norm in every single Man versus Fat club.
That's interesting. Do you think that's something to do with it? Sorry, mate, go on.
What the killer I find with it is when you have a couple of players away for the week or last minute pullouts, it's the chasing them to get it, because you know how important it still is. That's a killer for especially for a captain, knowing, because we the 3 of us know the league well enough to know what difference the tracking can make. That's a killer when you see that result come through and you work out, oh fuck, somebody didn't send it in because we've not got the full complement for that. And if that's the goal that makes a difference, it's heartbreaking, because it's so simple.
With the tracking thing there in other clubs, do you think, I mean, I know I'm a bit disappointed that they're not giving out the packs anymore, are they? They're not giving out the welcome packs, which have the paper tracking in them. And I get the reasoning for that. I get that.
But yes, if I was a player, I would rather have the paper one.
Yeah, that really means a lot to me. Do you know what though? I think it's about what you started with, because I've got every single page from the very first day that I started, and I can go back and reference that. And I've also written, sort of on the top of the pages, the weeks that it is, and the league and the team that I'm in, and all the other sort of details. And that's brilliant to go back and have a look at. And I wonder, now we don't have that, if that is a bit of a reason as to why maybe people don't do it, because if you're really committed and you can track it through an app, or you do it on your notes or whatever, that's fine. But if you don't start like that, it's difficult to get into. I don't know. That's just me. I like to have the hard copy there.
I think the broader point you're making is a fair one. I think my observation about other clubs was true before they started phasing out the written ones. Right. I think it's just the culture in different groups of blokes.
Yeah, that's strange, isn't it? I think that was one of the first things.
Ben, your tracker, your food diary is always one of the more enjoyable ones, because every now and again.
Don't tell them.
No. I think if you're going to track the food, you've got to be absolutely honest. There's no point in trying to pretend you're not. And every now and again there'll be something in Ben's that just says "full English breakfast!" ! And is open and proud of his indulgences, which is entirely right, because it's Man versus Fat isn't about giving up all the things that make life enjoyable. It's about finding a way to fit them into a healthy, balanced, sustainable lifestyle. So you have your full English breakfast, or I think another one I remember yours was, on your birthday you just wrote lots of cake. And and that's fine. But if you then adjust the rest of the week accordingly,
absolutely
great.
Yeah.
You could use your folder as a doorstop as well, could you? Benicize it now.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah. Use it as a stage weight.
Brilliant. Cool. One thing we were going to do, and I think we will jump to it, is often we do the icebreakers, but everybody, generally the people listen now, we've established as majority the community that we're in from Man v Fat Bournemouth. So everybody knows you. But what we'd like to do, or you'd like to do, is give us a little bit of a little game, a couple of lies and one truth, and we'll try and pick out which one is the truth.
It's the other way out.
We'll learn something interesting.
No, I've 4 statements. 3 of them are true. One of them is a lie.
Oh, God.
Okay.
So 3 truths, 1 lie, and I want each of you to guess what the lie is. So I'll read the 4 statements.
Go on then.
And there we go. Okay. Statement number 1: I was never picked to play football for my school team. Okay. Statement number 2: I have played and scored at Anfield. Statement number 3: I have run the Bulls at Pamplona.
Have you?
Statement number.
Fair play if you have.
Have I? And statement number 4. For one season, I was the UK's highest scoring fantasy football manager. 3 of those statements are true. 1 of them is a lie.
Can you tell me what number 3 is? I'm sorry.
Jack.
It's a.
Have
you ever seen the film City Slickers?
No.
Okay, fine. I'll forget that reference. Then. Basically, it's something that happens every year in July in Pamplona in Spain. Young men and women are allowed to enter now since some point in the 1970s. Run through the streets being chased by bulls.
And you have to escape or get gorged to death.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's something that men do for a bit of bravado. But yeah, it's part of the festival of Saint Firmin. And it happens every year.
3 of those are true. 3 of those statements are true.
3 of those 4 are true. 1 of them is
this
a lie.
Is this in real life or is this in your imagination?
No, real life. Real life.
Should we cross-examine some of them? I'm interested. I'm gonna ask you about the Anfield. See if we can pick out which one. So, what was the event for the Anfield appearance and goal?
I've actually played at Anfield 3 times, and I scored on 2 of those occasions.
Okay.
I wasn't going to go into all the detail on that. Just to give an
no, that's fair. I think
statement.
That's fair.
Interesting. And what year was the FPL top scorer?
It would have been in the first half of the 90s.
Okay, so that's when it was in the newspaper. So that when it was Telegraph stuff.
It was actually before it was in the newspapers. It was the season before the papers.
This is when only 10 people were doing it.
Yeah.
It was a national thing. It was a national thing.
I reckon that's
if indeed it was true.
Well, that's it.
Right. Any more questions? Any more cross-examination from the
could you just remind me of the first one?
First one, which I'm a little bit hurt that nobody's queried, is I was never picked to play football for my school team.
No, I don't believe
that's
that.
all understandable.
I think that's the lie. I don't believe he was never picked.
Okay, so you're going with 1, are you, Ben?
I think so. I think the other
Josh,
3 are so unplausible. They've got to be true. I think he was never picked for his team.
Well,
okay, so Ben has gone for number 1.
Yeah.
Since I'm the FPL guy, I'm going to say it's the fantasy ones, the lie. I don't think.
Okay.
I don't know. He just said so many truths, but I've just got to,
I think I will go, for the sake of making it interesting, the bull run. I'm sure others will agree with me. You know a lot about a lot of things, so I believe that everything you told me about it. I'm not sure if I believe you did it. So that is my choice, number 3.
Fair.
So,
come on in, Steve. I
spill the beans. That I played and scored at Anfield.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
it was even the second.
Could be any sort of charity event. Could be all sorts.
Even when I crossed I think you were pretty convincing as well. So yeah, I've drawn a line under that one. I can tell you,
I have played 3 times and scored at Anfield.
Nice.
Very good.
And this is one of those claims to fame that only really works when I say it out loud rather than write it down, because it's Anfield with 2 N's, which was the home of Stirling Albion when I was a student at Stirling University.
Love that.
And they had an artificial pitch that they'd hire out to the community, and me and my mates would sometimes hire it. 3 times I played there, twice I scored.
Fantastic.
Very good.
And I'd like to add, one of them was from outside the box.
Wow.
Okay. Wow.
Very good.
Just to
Screener.
So
that was a cross
the box.
That means one of you has got it right.
Okay.
Ben?
Yeah.
I was never picked for my school football team.
Really?
Oh.
Really? Like Billy Bragg, I never made the first team. I just made the first team laugh.
Oh, mate. That's harsh.
Josh? I was the 1992-93
okay.
highest scoring fantasy football manager in the country.
I love that,
and
mate.
Jack, I have never run the balls at Pamplona.
Fair play.
However, when I was a youth worker, whenever we used to play this kind of game with youth groups, I would always include that as my lie, and always more people believed it than any others.
That's because it's so bonkers.
I took great
something
pleasure
you
in.
probably would do. Saying that,
Quite
them
happy
little
with
legs
that.
would have to run pretty quick to get away from them.
I mean, in the fictitious version of that happening, it was when I was, 19, 20. So I was
fair.
If indeed it happened at all, which it didn't.
I'm absolutely mortified that you were never picked for your football team, mate. That's brought me great sorrow.
Well, I won't go into the details, but it was
still hurts.
a travesty which I've never quite recovered from.
Well, you're making up for it now, mate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bless you for that.
Very good. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, well done, mate.
Might be something as we could add in as a little feature for everybody. But I'm not
that.
sure they'll be as extravagant as your four, but or as sneaky as your four, maybe with the Anfield. But yeah, it's very good. Enjoyed that thoroughly. What we're going to do next is Josh has got a few questions around some bits and pieces that's going on with Man v Fat. Josh, actually, Steve, did you want to open up with what you've been up to recently with regarding Man v Fat and what's been going on? And then I'm sure questions will flow from there.
Well, last Thursday of last week, so a week and a day from when this podcast drops, was the 10th anniversary celebration of Man vs Fat at the House of Commons. And I was delighted to be invited as one of a number of coaches and other people associated with Man v Fat to go along and be part of it. So yeah, it was a great day at the House of Commons. But there was a number of people giving speeches. Richard Crick, who is the head of Man vs Fat, gave a potted history of the 10 years and where we started and where we've got to and when things have happened. And Andrew Shanahan, who is the man who came up with Man vs Fat, he spoke as well. And he had some really interesting things to say, which I'll circle back to in a minute. Mm-hmm. There was also a few coaches and players from Man vs Fat sharing their stories, and there's a guy, Stan, who's very active in the Welsh clubs, who's done a lot of really good things about mental health for the players, and it was great hearing about that. There's lots of good stuff like that being talked about, but also lots of chance just to mingle and chat with people and hear other people's stories of what's going on. And it was really nice. Several people said to me, "So how's Bournemouth going?" And it was lovely just to be able to say, "Do you know what? The Bournemouth club's in a really good place at the moment," because as we were just discussing, I think we are. And it was great to be able to share that with people. But yeah, going back to Andrew Shanahan, who's really nice bloke. I really got on well with him. And when he was doing his bit, he made a point that really struck with me. Lots of people say that the reason Man vs Fat works is it taps into the natural competitiveness that blokes have, and it uses that as a fuel to help us to lose weight. And up to a point, that's true. But his argument, which I agree with, is that's not the defining thing for why it works. Why it works is the compassion that people have. And I mean, I know we've commented in the past, when there's somebody in our league who is struggling or has got an issue or who needs a bit of extra support, the Bournemouth Club is brilliant at getting alongside people and offering that support. And the way that people encourage each other across the team boundaries, that it's not just, I want my blues or my blacks or my purples to lose weight because they're my guys. You're just as supportive and encouraging of of people in other teams.
Yeah.
That compassion underpinning everything that's going on, I think that is a massive part of why Man versus Fat works.
Yeah.
And that really struck me, and it's something that I try to encourage everybody to think in terms of Man versus Fat on a club level rather than on a team level. And we are the Bournemouth club over and above being the individual teams.
Mm-hmm.
And I, at some point in the last couple of years, and I don't know when it happened, but it was a conscious choice. The message that I send out to new players when they've just signed up, I send them a text message saying, "Hi, this is Steve, the coach from Man versus Fat Bournemouth." And I used to write, "Welcome to the league." And I stopped doing that. And now I write, "Welcome to the club."
Mm-hmm.
Just
Nice.
to underline it. I think there's a different sense to welcome to the club. It's a more inclusive thing. And so that really struck me, what Andrew Shanahan was saying about compassion being the thing that makes Man versus Fat work.
Yeah.
And compassion maybe isn't a quality of manhood that we often talk about readily when we talk about what are men, but it is an important aspect of being a man.
Yeah. And you certainly see that definitely from the guys. I totally agree with that. But I think that it's quite difficult, and we all know that guys struggle to talk.
Yeah.
And I think we've spoken about it before about joining up to Man v Fat in the first place in itself is quite a big step for anyone to take, because you're kind of admitting to yourself that you need help, or you need guidance, or you need something to kickstart. You know you've got a problem, you know you want to solve something for whatever reasons, whether it's you want a healthy lifestyle for your kids, or you're doing it for your mental health or whatever. Everyone joins for different reasons, but it's a difficult decision for people to make originally. So I think the fact that everybody is in the same position when they do it, that kind of brings out that compassion for everybody else. And you kind of instantly know that you're in a place and in a group of people who are all in a very similar place to you, and that kind of automatically brings out that compassion. That's certainly how I see it anyway, and I've experienced it. So yeah, I think he's absolutely bob on. I don't know if did he do that when he first set it up? Was that on the sort of top of his agenda, or is that something that came out of it and that's what he's gleaned from it?
I suspect a combination of both. For what it's worth, he would make a fantastic guest. And if you get him,
do you reckon he'd come on?
You could ask him. I reckon he would. He's a really nice guy. And
is he still actively involved 10 years on? Is he still sort of in the main running of it, or has he handed it over?
I think he is. He's handed it over. I mean, part of the 10-year potted history was, having got it up and running, he partnered up with an organisation called Thrive Tribe, which is where Richard Crick, who's the head of it now, comes in, and they had much more experience at delivering health-related programs.
Right. Okay.
So they were a big part of working out how to take it and scale it up and spread it. But he's still involved. He's also a published author who has written a book that I've bought since last Thursday and I've started reading.
Did you sell him yours?
Called I told him about mine. I certainly
should have done a swap.
But he's written two books. I've got the first one called Before and After, which is a tale of someone facing issues of extreme weight and weight loss in the middle of a zombie apocalypse.
Brilliant.
So yeah, it's a hard-hitting, true-to-life story with zombies, but it is very good. And the weight loss stuff I can see isn't just tacked on. It's really interesting on that side of it. And there's zombies, so win-win.
Right.
Yeah. Did he give you any like big headline stats as a 10th anniversary thing that you can think of, you remember off the top of your head, or anything you got written down?
I think there were some big headline stats, but not that I've got written down or off the top of my head. I mean, I think the reason for doing it was partly they wanted to mark where the organisation is and what's happened in 10 years, but also doing it at the House of Commons as a way of just raising the profile of men's health in a political context, just to keep the powers that be focused on the importance of supporting men's health, and projects like Man versus Fat that do that, whether that be physical health, mental health, I mean, both of them in the case of Man versus Fat. So that was the agenda, and also it's good just to mark where we are and also point where it's going. They are currently trialling Man versus Fat rugby, which I think would be touch rugby.
Christ.
It would be rather than.
We were talking about that on Saturday.
There are trials happening at the moment in certain locations, and
that's good.
If those are successful, it may well get rolled out. They're also in the process of launching a Man versus Fat in Florida. America has expressed an interest, so they've set up one in Florida. Along with a number of us coaches have said if they need someone to cover the Florida sessions, as long as they're happy to pay the normal mileage rate, we'll happily go and do
it. Yeah, right. Very good. Did they mention anything around women's involvement with this sort of thing? Is that something that might be on the horizon?
I know a lot of people have asked about that. My understanding is at the moment there are no immediate plans to do that. I could be wrong. That's my understanding.
They could easily go down like the netball route or the women's football route or something like that, couldn't they? I guess there's a scope for lots of inclusive ways of doing it right, I guess.
Yes, but I think and absolutely women who want to lose weight need the support as well. But one of the motivating things for starting Man versus Fat was the public resources for weight loss programs. Forget the percentage, it was something like 10%, 15% of them are for men.
Yeah.
And the 85-90% of what's already out there is primarily marketed for and taken up by women. So if Man versus Fat is seen as being exclusive for just being men, it's a conscious attempt to redress an imbalance rather than we don't want girls at this, thank you very much.
No, of course.
Yeah. So yeah, who knows? Maybe at some point, but the focus at the moment is on men's.
Yeah.
Any other specific highlights of the event you can think of?
The raspberry trifle in the House of Commons dining room was very, very good. And had I been,
it seems like had
I been, it was quite a small portion. Had I been at any other kind of event, I might have been tempted to have a second one. But somehow taking a second trifle at the 10th anniversary of Man versus Fat football just felt wrong. So I
was surprised he had trifle in the first place.
Very small portions. Very small.
He probably paid like 20p for it or something. The fucking MPs get everything for nothing in there, don't they?
Well,
I'm sure I've heard some really controversial prices on things. So you're thinking, hospital staff are paying like £2 for a coffee, and you get it for 15p at the Houses of Parliament. But that's another story for another day, isn't it, Stephen?
Yeah, don't go down that route.
I was on my best behaviour. And not getting into any political arguments with anyone.
No, fair.
He didn't wear your embossed "fuck the Tories" shoes or anything like that.
I wouldn't like to comment on my choice of underpants, but nothing was on display.
Thank God for everybody's sake. Any other questions, guys?
Well, I was only going to ask another, like, is there any other than what you've already mentioned, any particular discussions with coaches or anyone else you came away thinking, oh, I'd like, anyone give you impart any advice you think, oh, I'll take that away, or maybe you were the one imparting advice?
think it was more just taking the temperature of how everybody was finding it and where things are with our clubs. Yeah, I think the one thing that did strike me was I mentioned Stan and the stuff he's done with mental health. And he would be another great guest to get on. But it did get me thinking, I wonder. I mean, they started a thing which they've called Espresso Yourself, where a group of the blokes arrange to go out for a walk together and have a walk, and they finish up having a coffee, and just to create a space where blokes can talk.
Mm-hmm.
And it might be that it's just shooting the breeze, whatever, but it might be that someone talks about something a bit deeper, a bit more personal, and that is so valuable, and it's so easy for us as blokes not to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I did ponder whether that was something that would be worth us doing.
I've thought about something similar, actually, funny enough. Obviously we're very lucky where we live to have beautiful miles and miles and miles of promenades to walk down on a summer's evening. I'm sure everybody else enjoys that at time to time, but an opportunity to kind of do almost like a bit of a walking club, like you say, stop somewhere for a coffee or whatever wherever that may be, but an opportunity to kind of get as many people as you can together, maybe people that are carrying a bit of a knock. Pardon me, I've forgotten the fella's name that didn't play once for the Greens. What was his Mark. So yeah, could the opportunity to for somebody like him to get out and spend some time with his team, but obviously not being able to play, we might have been able to hobble a couple of miles or whatever that may be. It's definitely something I've thought about before, and it's something I think we can certainly revisit as a group come the warmer evenings and the lighter evenings, as football doesn't always have to be the thing that we do, if that makes sense. So there's an opportunity to do other stuff that gives other people a chance that might not fancy that Thursday or Tuesday night down, little down.
I think that's something to add, though. I think over the 2.5 years that we've been doing this, if you look at what's come off the back of it, you've got the Tuesday night football, you've got Thursday night football, you've got the 11s, you've got the Golf Society. That's 4 different
Little Down Sundays as well.
Little Down Sundays, which is now a newish sort of thing. If you think about all these kind of things that have sprung up out of this one sort of format that's brought all these different guys together, I think it's testament to the whole process, really, and how everyone's engaged with it. Because you can go on and do other stuff.
Account.
Weekly
to the
sauna.
Well, there is on Sandbanks Beach. There's a saltwater sauna on Sandbanks Beach. I think it's probably an absolute fortune to get into, seeing as where it's located. But joking aside, you could even do like walk-in sea dip groups or whatever. And I think we might all have to be careful we don't get harpooned at that time of day down there. But jokes aside, I think I'd definitely be up for it. I'm awful with cold water, and you've got the cold water therapy that might help people as well. There's all sorts of benefits that come off the back of it, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's a great idea, Steve, and I for one wouldn't mind missing a couple of Tuesdays of running around and punishing my knees and my hips and everything else, and go for a stroll and try and catch up with some of the people that you don't see so often from the group.
Watch this space then. I'll have a think of what the best.
I've always quite fancied man versus fat darts. I think that would be quite good. Or man versus fat pool. That'd be quite good.
Yeah, I'd be up for that. Definitely. Sign me up.
Those extra steps walking to and from a dartboard, though.
Exactly.
Really. Man versus fat bull running.
Yeah, there you go. That's a winner. You might die though, but that's okay.
That really
that really loses all the fat. Yeah,
the mice from the men would be separated there, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Brilliant stuff. I love it. Great. Any other questions, chaps, before we move on? Anything else from you, Steve?
I want to know why you were invited, Steve-O. Was it a select group, or were all of them invited? Was everyone invited, or
because he played at Anfield?
It was a select group. I don't know what the selection criteria was. I know when I got the invitation, they said, please keep this quiet because we can't invite everyone and we don't want, people feeling
getting the ump
put out. I was just thrilled and privileged that I was picked.
Fair.
I wonder if you gents assisted me, just because this podcast has raised the profile of the Bournemouth group. And I suspect
we'll happily take credit for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where's my trifle?
And I it was very good, Jack. But I saved you from it because I know how committed you are.
There we go.
But I think the fact that the last few seasons we've really turned a corner as a club in terms of weight loss, and our numbers are good, it could be that was a factor. I don't know, and I didn't ask the question. I was just happy to be invited.
Well done, mate.
Yeah,
it's great, and we think we definitely do put the success of Man v Fat Bournemouth down to you mainly, because when it first started, we all know the story of what pickle it was, and it wasn't set up initially properly. I don't think that was Man v Fat's fault. I think it was the person that the first few people that were coaches that they got in weren't quite right for the job. And it was probably actually the members who were kind of made it a success to start with, but certainly getting you on board and you doing what you do and taking the club forward has been certainly probably the biggest part of the continued success of the club. So I think I can speak for everyone when we say thanks to you specifically for helping all of us on what is probably, and I think most of us would say, that one of the best things we've ever done in making our lives a fitter and healthier place to be for us and our families. So not getting too soppy, but a big thank you from us, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. I don't think that I'm the main factor in why it's a success. I think it's the blokes at the club and the environment that has grown up. And I mean, my day job, other than writing books, is I'm a football coach, and coaches create environments, but people have to buy into the environment, and without the players buying in, that snowballing effect that I was talking about earlier, that doesn't happen without individuals who get hold of it and pick it up and run with it. And it's the players are the people who've made this club what it is. Definitely, you guys do the hard yards far more than me rocking up on a Friday night.
True. I'll take that.
Yeah.
But do you know how many clubs there are? How many clubs have we got in the UK now? Do you know off the top of your head?
These figures might be wrong. I think I've heard there's over 400 clubs.
Wow.
I think I heard a stat that there's about 10,000 players. Now, I've not done the maths whether those two stats remotely work together or if one of them must be wildly wrong.
10,000 is quite a lot for 400 clubs.
But
it might be right.
There is a lot. There are clubs now in Northern Ireland as well as in England, Scotland, and Wales, and the trial one that's being set up in Florida. They did do a trial in Australia, but COVID then kind of knocked that a bit.
Yeah. They've just opened one in Cowes. That's just reached the Isle of Wight. Yeah.
I think there is already one on the Isle of Wight.
There is. Yeah, there is. They've opened another one.
Is there two now? Is there?
Yeah. So they can play each other.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Okay. If that's everything on the Man v Fat side of things, I think Steve has a burning topic he'd like to discuss around
a little gloat little
a certain
coming
fixture
here,
at the weekend, and I've got a little cherry on top of that when he's finished.
The last time you had me on, the weekend before I came on, Fulham played Arsenal and were held to a draw by the plucky Gunners. And then this time we were playing Josh's team, and the mighty Fulham
one of Josh's
conceded an 88th minute equaliser and still came out on top, winning 2-1. So when Fulham next play QPR, can I come on again immediately after that? And that will guarantee.
Mate, it's probably going to be a very long time that Fulham play QPR again, mate.
Something's gone very wrong, Steve.
We've got more chance of playing Chelsea, QPR. I think.
But no, as a Fulham fan, it was just fantastic because we have had so many games against Man United in recent years where we've played really well, and then right at the death, United have nipped in with a goal that has denied us getting something from the game. There have been so many late Man United goals in that fixture. So the fact that we were winning, and by all accounts were the better team, I mean, everybody I've heard has said Fulham deserved the win. The fact that we were winning, and then Man United got that late goal to yet again snatch it away from us, and we went out and won it anyway, was just magnificent. And I'd just signed Harry Maguire for my fantasy football team, so the fact that he got United's consolation goal was just
happy
perfect.
days. That is definitely a cherry on the cake. Yeah, I stupidly signed bloody Hoyland the day before it was told that he was injured, so that was wonderful. Thanks very much for that. Cheers.
And one stat that I heard bandied around a lot in advance of the Man United Fulham game was the last time that Fulham had won at Old Trafford was in 2003. I remember that match. I remember it really well because it was the last Fulham game before Peter was born.
Okay.
For those who don't know, Peter, my eldest son. And I remember joking with my wife that Anne said that we could give him the goal scorer's name as his middle name. One of the goal scorers that day was Wanichi Inamoto, and I was pushing hard for Peter Inamoto Couch, which Peter has always said in retrospect he would have been delighted.
He would have loved it.
He would have loved that. But sadly, no, my Anne wouldn't budge.
So he's never. So Peter, is also a Fulham supporter. Yeah, he's never seen Fulham beat Man United until now.
At Old Trafford.
At Old Trafford.
We've beaten them many times at Craven Cottage. In that
all right, yeah.
Including once when Peter was about, I don't know, 6 and was going to a friend's birthday party at Two Rivers Meet, I think. Might have been at Little Down, somewhere like that. And Fulham were playing Man United that day, and his mate was a Man United fan. And the game was on the screens where they all sat down for the actual party bit of the party, and Peter got to sit there watching Fulham beating Man United.
Love that.
In front of all his mates, including the Man United supporting birthday boy, who would have really lauded it over Peter had the result been the other way round. So yeah, he's seen us beat Man United. Josh, you're very quiet.
Yes, well, I was just letting you steal it. I mean, I'm not going to
have his moment.
Discuss much about it. You know, it's not unlike the season, is it? For Man United perspective, and also Fulham, quite hot and cold. I thought.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
Very, very good against Man United. Deserved the win thoroughly. Very well done. Let's just say, I mean, Bournemouth beat Man United more comprehensively. Let's be honest. Yeah. At Old Trafford. So
it was good to see a Hale End graduate score the winner as well from an Arsenal perspective. Good old Iwobi.
And oh yeah, we love Iwobi. His absence on the African Cup of Nations has been one of the factors in a few of the recent less than impressive games. But the other thing to say about that is we won that game without João Palhinha, who has been one of the players that all along everybody said, "Oh, Fulham miss him when he's not there," and we do generally, but we did that one without him.
That Muniz is looking like a good player, isn't he?
There's rumours that he might be about to get picked for the Brazil squad, which if you had told me that a year ago, I would have laughed in your face at the idea that he would get within the same continent as being picked for the Brazil squad. So he needs to do it week in, week out, but at the moment he is, and he's come on in leaps and bounds. So we have a lot of hope that he might be the real deal. He's not there yet, but he could be.
Yeah. Well, that was a great result. Certainly caught my attention, and when we realised that you were going to be coming on as well, it makes it all a bit sweeter as well to have a little giggle at United's expense, as always.
Oh, everyone loves a giggle at United's expense. Even I like a giggle at United's expense.
Yeah, lovely stuff.
It's just so good of United to give them so many for us.
Yeah, they're very giving at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what else has caught your attention this week then, chaps, in terms of football?
Rangers out of the bottom three, just on goal difference.
Yeah. Bit of a turnaround of form, really, isn't it?
Yeah, we've done really well. Had a really good February. Got 10 points in February. So it's been a bit of a struggle because the teams around us started bloody winning as well. Huddersfield are winning. Sheffield Wednesday are picking up points. Millwall picked up a few. We lost that stupid game to Stoke, which we shouldn't have lost, but very, very encouraging to see. And there's been a lot of talk around Elias Chair, of course, with his impending court drama. Yeah, but there's a lot of grey areas around it. We don't know. I mean, it's all alleged at the moment. It's going through the courts, and he seems to be training and playing. So it can't be as potentially serious as it's being reported as being. Otherwise, he wouldn't be there, I don't think. And the club are being quite transparent. Anyway. Well, yeah, the club are being really transparent and saying they're constantly in contact with his legal team and stuff. So you've got to take their word for it. I don't think they would, if there was any real fuel behind it. I think we've got a club with a bit of integrity that would sort of step him away and say, look, you need to take this. Let's not put you in the limelight while this is going on. So you've got to trust them that they're doing the right thing.
There are some clubs who you would suspect would be a little bit. It's all about protecting our player. It's all about protecting the club. Whereas QPR, all jokes about Fulham and QPR aside, they are a good club with good values. I would have confidence in QPR to handle it.
Yeah, make the right decision
responsibly.
Yeah. I think that's the key. I think the responsibility behind it is key, and I genuinely think that they would, if there was any doubt or any concerns, they would have pulled him by now. So promising. So I'm pleased. Hopefully we can kick on. We've got to play. I think we've still got to play Wednesday, so that'll be a big game. We've got a few tricky ones coming up. We've got Leicester at the weekend, and then we've got West Brom. So I'm not expecting much from those. But Leicester exceeded themselves the other day, so you never know. Might get a sneaky win there. That'd be nice. Even a point, I'll be happy with that.
Yeah,
but we'll see.
You're optimistic that you're. I think going down is a disaster, isn't it?
Absolute disaster. Would be a disaster. I think we'll be okay. I think there are worse teams than us in the mix. I think Rotherham are done, so I think it's between about another half a dozen teams probably potentially being those two. I think we're probably one of the better teams, and I think we're starting to hit a bit of form. So fingers crossed that form will take us across the line, whereas some of the others might drop out a little bit. So that's the hope, anyway.
I think I want to take issue with something you said, Ben.
Go on.
Not that QPR won't stay up. Good luck to you, but. Would relegation be an absolute disaster? Because I've supported Fulham back in the days when we were 91st out of 92 in the Football League.
Yeah,
and I feel really strongly. Although you never want your team to get relegated, and relegation hurts, you do not feel good about it. It's still your team, whatever division they're in.
Of course it is. Yeah, of course it is.
And it's a different experience, but still a positive experience at any level.
Yeah.
I think
we had a long time
that,
in Div 1 though, and it was
Yeah.
fairly. We were in the doldrums for a long time, and
Right.
it's quite, you know what it's like. It's quite demoralising when you're down, especially when you've been. I mean, most of the clubs, to be fair, I think there's only a few that really haven't been in the top flight. But you know, when QPR first got relegated, certainly in my lifetime, when we were the first, the birth of the Premier League, we were the top London club in the first season of the Premier League. So to see the sort of demise over the next 3 or 4 seasons that we did, and then we got relegated we got down to what was then Division 1 and then into Division 2 before it changed to the Championship in Div 1. It was quite painful, I think. And then we spent many years sort of languishing in the new Div 1 before we got promoted to the Championship, and then we spent a few years sort of yo-yoing between Championship and Premier League to drop down to, basically, when we talk about the club as a whole, we are a mid-table Championship club. That's where we would sit in the grand scheme of everything, so if to get promoted would be exceeding our expectations, to be relegated would be bad. But I love the Championship, so I would be disappointed. It's not the end of the world, of course it's not, because you're right, you still follow your club, and it's a chance to rebuild, and I think everyone looks at it quite what's the word, constructively, as if to say, okay, well, it's a good chance to reset, we can try and build again and go again and see what happens. So it's not, no, it wouldn't be the end of the world. And some people argue sometimes that it would be good to get relegated. I don't believe in any circumstance it would be good to get relegated.
Even with what I was just saying, I wouldn't go that far.
No.
But I think the higher up you go, the more intense the experience of football.
Yeah.
But the lower down the scale you go, there's more sheer enjoyment.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree with that, and I do really enjoy the Championship. I got to be honest. There's some great football matches, and the teams are really quite closely matched. Any team can beat any team on any day, and that's really obvious when you look at the table and how close, from a points point of view, it really is. And the shock results do pop up. So it's great fun, and I love the playoffs. I mean, if you're going to get promoted to the Premier League, the playoffs is by far the best way to do it. So fortunately, teams
about that. I argue about that all the time with my boys. I'd rather get an automatic promotion and be done.
Yeah.
Whereas their argument is, if you can guarantee you're going to win the final, then going up via the playoffs is the way to do it.
Yes,
but
you got to deal with the hurt
guarantee.
As well. No.
Yeah.
But that winning that championship playoff final is quite a feeling. It's amazing.
Yes. Especially when you do it beating your local rivals, as we did with Brentford the last
time. Yeah, right. Excellent.
Wow.
Anyway, that's enough QPR nonsense. That's my little bit for the week.
One thing I wanted to talk about. Sorry, Josh. One thing I wanted to talk about is: do we think, obviously, being an FA Cup weekend, there's two subjects on that. Seeing Haaland and De Bruyne combined for 4 of the 6 goals. Did they score in the end? I can't even remember. I lost count.
6-2.
Yeah. 6-2 in the end, wasn't it? Yeah. So do we think that's pretty ominous for the league, or do we just think it was a bit of a one-off and Luton took a kick in? I think they probably made a few changes and obviously prioritised staying in the league.
I think that Haaland is now almost at the level of Rodrigo Muniz. Is that good?
I think it's a different context, isn't it? Because it's a cup game, so
yeah.
I think they could just let their hair down and go for it a little bit. But it did look like they really clicked, and maybe that's because he's come back to full fitness, and De Bruyne is back now to full fitness. I don't know. I know Luton had a couple of injuries, didn't they? Adebayo's been out, and there's a couple of others. But it was a lovely open game. Did you watch it?
No.
It was a really open game from the off. It was really open. It was great to watch.
I was watching Bournemouth's miserable attempt of trying to. No, I was watching it on my phone before we had a kickabout down Little Down last night. So, yeah, I think before we move on to the Bournemouth game, I think I've seen the highlights and it seems a little ominous to me. I've I maintain I think they're going to win the league anyway, and
I would think so.
Just the way things kind of click into gear at the right time for them. They've been there, they've done that. Not Jack Grealish's biggest fan, but I do feel a little bit sorry for him at the moment. The injury problems he keeps having. I know he had to limp off, and he was pictured with his coat over his head and pretty upset about the continued kind of setbacks. But I think that's also along the lines of what Pep had to say in the week about him, kind of saying he needs to take his chance. When he gets a chance, he has to take it, and I think that heaped quite a bit of pressure on him as well to do well.
He'll have his eye on the summer as well.
Oh, absolutely,
that position's up for grabs, and if he's injured for that, that'll be a real heartbreaker for him, because I think if he was going into that tournament at the peak of fitness, I think he'll be really important to that England side. So that'll be on his mind as well.
Yeah. I think he strikes me as one of the players that probably has to do an awful lot wrong to not get picked by Southgate in that squad now. I think he's probably a character that Southgate will rely on around the squad if he's nearly fit or has a chance of being fit for latter stages. I reckon he probably still stands a good chance of being on that plane. Whether we've been there and done that in terms of the Southgate talk, that sort of thing, and I'm sure we will when it gets closer to squad announcements. But I think he's definitely one of those that falls under that almost Harry Maguire kind of
part of the setup,
part of the furniture in terms of what Southgate wants and will continue to trust.
I hope he's fit, because that'd be a shame if he's not there.
And the other subject was Bournemouth's dismal attempt yesterday at beating Kevin Crago's Leicester City.
He didn't gloat too much. Fair play to him. I thought he'd be on there gloating his head off, but no.
He did drop in a group earlier saying it's a bit quiet in here, and I don't think anything to do with the result. And he is genuinely the only Leicester fan that I know as well. So I can't I wasn't expecting to get it from anywhere else about it, but I just think it sounds like Dom might have a bit of a niggle. I was a bit surprised to not see him on the bench, and personally, I would have a player like him at the moment, the form that he's in, I would continue playing him. But yeah, I just think they missed quite a few chances in the first half, and then kind of let Leicester back into it, and they took their chance. And I think it was I don't know who they've drawn in the next round. I think Leicester might have Wolves or Brighton, whatever the result of that game was tonight, which would have been a tough draw.
They have Chelsea, who've just
so it's wrong. Sorry, it's Chelsea or Leeds then. Okay, so either way, it would have been interesting. I think it was away as well. So, but you are then just one game away from Wembley, which is for a team like Bournemouth this season, I think are comfortably staying up, or you'd imagine they should stay up. It's a shame that to whimper out the way they did, where you've got that chance of a bit of a cup run for the fans and something that kind of gives you that extra impetus and whatever else. But say la vie, Bournemouth have never been particularly good cup team. They always seem to, especially under Eddie.
They were lucky to get past
dropped out loads
this season, to be fair.
So yeah, I don't know your thoughts on that. I don't know if anybody else has seen. Josh, you've seen the highlights at all or anything?
Yeah, no, it just seemed like typical Bournemouth Cup performance, didn't it? Oh, I will say though that both teams had chances, didn't they? It's not like Bournemouth didn't have chances. Less didn't have chances. So I was surprised it was 0-0 for as long as it was. So there's nothing much I could say other than just quite typical, really. Because obviously I didn't see the second half or the extra time. Sorry. So.
One other cup result that we didn't mention as well was the Liverpool Chelsea game at the weekend. Obviously, Liverpool in a bit of a mess in terms of injuries and whatever else, and Gary Neville putting out one of his phrases that he's had down in his back pocket for some time, isn't he? But yeah, I think
the blue bottle.
That was the last thing I wanted to see.
The £1 billion blue bottle jobs.
That was the last thing I really wanted to see. As much as I'm a big Arsenal fan, I would have much preferred Chelsea win it. Then we just got another couple of weeks of this clock
as a Fulham
round
fan,
and
I
round
was
again.
very happy to see Liverpool lifting the cup.
Yeah, it was. I get they've done really well, to be fair, and I know you and I, Josh, had a little bit of back and forth about Pochettino, and he's certainly scraped through again tonight. They've beaten Leeds 3-2 at home. I think he probably is on thin ice, and I think under Abramovich, he definitely would have had the proverbial bullet or the actual bullet by now. You never know with Abramovich in his regime.
But is what is wrong at Chelsea down to Pochettino?
No.
Or is it down to the situation he's inherited?
Yeah.
And I would argue that he's doing as well as can be done with that balance of squad.
Well, we spoke about this earlier in the year when Poch had just taken over, and he was saying in one of his first interviews that he didn't have any choice over the players that were bought. The owners bought a load of players and said, there you go, crack on. And he kind of went, okay, I'll do what I can. And it's just not clicked for whatever reason, whether he's struggling with personalities or who knows. It just hasn't clicked. So whether he'll be there at the end of this season, probably not. There'll probably be a change, but I guarantee you there'll be some massive clause in his contract. If they sack him, he'll be happy days. Do you know what I mean? It'll be another £20 million off.
There's going to be some serious jobs available this summer, isn't there? If you think potential, probably the England job, Liverpool job, potentially the Chelsea job, Bayern Munich job, potentially the Bayern Leverkusen job if Xabi Alonso is to believe to be going to one of those.
Yeah, potentially United job.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. Yeah.
When Klopp announced that he was going to be stepping down, I saw a stat. When Klopp goes, Marco Silva at Fulham will be the 5th longest serving manager in the Premier League.
That's mad, isn't it?
Which is astonishing because this is his 3rd season with us.
Yeah,
and he'll be 5th in the list.
I think there's a lot of Premier League managers probably quite happy to see Luton, Sheffield United, and where are we going with the other one? Who's the other team? Come on, Burnley doing so badly because they've almost got a bit of a safety blanket. You see the sackings are down massively, aren't they? You've kind of got the safety blanket of going, if you're below those 3, you can guarantee you're getting yourself sacked this season. Like you're gone. You're not even going to get anywhere near them. Do you know what I mean? That does actually remind me. One other thing is obviously Everton's point deduction was reduced as well, which was a little bit predictable. I think everybody that's in the know had come to the conclusion that it was probably over harsh, but also the fact that they have kind of gone, we'll reduce it, but we're also going to slap you with another one somewhere down the line. And I heard today there's a good chance that the final table, Premier League table, might only become completely clear a week before the Euro starts.
Wow.
So by the end of the season, you still might be surviving, or you might be gone. You just don't know, which is mental.
Actually, and that's going to really hinder those clubs in terms of doing transfer deals.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because players are going to say, well, I don't know if I'm signing up to be in the Premier League or the Championship, so I'm not going to go for you. I'm going to go to that club instead.
Yeah, and so the vast majority are going to bugger off to. Well, it'd be
Forest and Everton have both
Everton are the important ones, yeah.
But I think Forest are in trouble. If Forest get relegated, they're going to be in big trouble anyway, going back down into the Championship. They've got FFP rulings over those.
I think Everton are going to be in big trouble, and the fact that they've got a plush new stadium waiting for them at some point soon, can't imagine they're going to be filling that out with a championship squad. They've
got a massive fan base, huge fan base.
Yeah, they do. And I think as soon as I said that, I did actually think in the way that the Scousers tend to be, they pull together, don't they? And they will get behind them, but it's not going to be a great image, is it, for them? And financially, it's going to be even more difficult. But I guess it could only be the 3 teams, Everton and Forest, that are sweating, and I think Sheffield United and Burnley are probably gone. It might only be Luton, and I'd feel awful for Luton if they ended up going down because of it, as in somebody being reinstated with points.
Yeah, if they finished fourth bottom and then a reinstatement took someone above them, that would be a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah, that'd be harsh.
Definitely. And I'm sure there'll be lawsuit after lawsuit, and I think there already is around the previous teams that had gone down over the previous seasons that Everton had been considered to have breached. There was talk of them suing Everton or the Premier League or whatever it may be, and that's still got ongoing as well. It's just a mess, and you want it to just be the football, but unfortunately finances in football is becoming bigger than the football, really.
Yeah, of course
sadly.
It is. Yeah, of course it is.
So yeah, that off the top of my head, that's kind of the headlines that I can think of. There's not anything else. We won't bother with a Piebry corner this week because Arsenal are just steamrolling anybody in front of them every week anyway. So
good to see, mate.
As I was saying before,
high habits flying, as I wrongly predicted.
As I was saying before the show started, Jack, Arsenal are in a good position because you don't have to play the mighty Fulham again. We've got a draw and a win against you already this season, but you don't have to be afraid of us anymore until next season.
Yeah, there's some certainly big games coming up. That's glad to be avoiding Fulham because they seem to have a bit of a hoodoo. But is it Manchester Derby this weekend, Josh?
Yes, it is. Yeah,
I think a bit resigned to that one, Josh.
Yeah, just
you sound like you're looking forward to that, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, how can you look forward to it really on some level? Honestly, truthfully, Man United have just scraped a win in the FA Cup against Forest, to go through after a dismal display against the mighty Fulham, as you put it. It's up and down, up and down. And it's Man City. It's just especially after that. I know it was Luton and it was the cup, but we all know what they can do.
The way I always look at it with Fulham, if we're playing a team like Manchester City, it's a free hit. It's a game to nothing. You're expected to lose, and if you get absolutely thumped, well, you're playing Manchester City and we're Fulham. No one's that surprised. If you get anything out of it, that's brilliant. And what you want is a bit of spirit, a bit of performance, and anything you get is a bonus. The fact that that's possibly how Man United might be seeing it shows what a horrible time Man United are having, because that's not how Man United are used to seeing those games.
No, how the mighty have fallen.
Yeah.
Well, that's just where they are at the moment, as I've kept saying, as quite a not a casual fan, but you know what I mean, someone who's not super emotionally invested to the point where I'm gonna say Ten Hag out every single time they lose a game. I'm not one of those people. I'm very much give it time. That's just where they are, and it's gonna take them another 2, 3, 4 seasons to get anywhere near again, I think. So
is Ten Hag the man to turn it round?
I think he should stay. I'm not convinced 100% he's definitely the man, but I think he should be given this and next season as a minimum, regardless, because of the new ownership, and they're obviously going to have director of football and all these people in place first, and actually you've got to work with him and see if it works from there, because I think with the lack of stability he's had with the ownership and the lack of investment back and forth in terms of time, really, with the ownership before, is going to be a problem.
Yeah.
How many other clubs have a director of football and in place, and Man United have never had one until soon? So
interesting.
Terrible.
Okay.
Anyway,
let's I think it was a pretty big week, or important week, for a lot of FPL managers. I, for one, played an absolute blinder and picked Jota, who lasted all of fuck all, as my triple captain, and that went terribly wrong for me. And I think George,
that was in your double game week, wasn't it?
As well.
That was in the double game week. That was the week before last.
Oh, well, is that last? Oh, losing track of everything. But anyway, either way, there's been another big week in the fantasy football, and I'm sure Josh has got a little bit of a recap and what he wants to talk about in his little fantasy football corner.
Well,
I'm actually just trying to catch up now, because the FA Cup, round it has just finished literally minutes ago. So it's actually already shaping the fantasy thing, but I'm just trying to wrap my head around it at the moment. So I haven't really fully wrapped my head around it just yet. This last week was a bit of a, as is the way with blanks, etc., and doubles. Sorry, but nothing good came of anyone who triple captained Haaland. It seemed.
No.
Is that on my? That's just how it is.
Both
the
of
wrong
my
week.
sons triple captained Haaland, and I just captained him and left the triple captain chip
Yeah, me too.
safely
Wow.
on the shelf. So I'm feeling
Smug.
good about that.
Yeah. Well, you have to pick
Craig Drury, by the way, is the only person in any of my invitational leagues who is ahead of me.
Really?
I'm second in the Man versus Fat Bournemouth and Pool League, and I'm top of every other individual league.
You are smashing it, mate. You are smashing it.
Yeah.
So well done, Craig.
Yeah, everything he touches turns to gold, though. Like, genuinely. Like,
you got to watch Gareth,
Luiz,
by the way.
Douglas Luiz, yeah. Douglas Luiz for him.
Gets Douglas Luiz 15 points.
Yeah, Gareth had 87 points last week.
You got to watch Gareth. He's sneaking up.
I spotted Gareth.
Yeah,
What's incredible, if you look at his midfield, he had Bowen who got 20, Foden got 11, Saka got 10, Luiz got 15. He captained Chan that got 6.
Yeah.
So all of them,
what a
pick. Any of the others. And
bless him.
Had an absolute hatful when he picked the wrong midfield captain.
That's the way it goes, though.
Yeah, very impressive.
I'm trying to work out. So just as a heads up, then, game week 29, just a few weeks away. That's when most people who've gone through, all the people who've gone through the FA Cup will not play, and nor their opponents. So I'm just trying to work this out, but almost a guarantee, it seems, that we've got. Who am I thinking of? So the Arsenal-Chelsea game won't be on.
Yeah.
Firstly,
Liverpool.
The Liverpool-Everton game won't be on.
Yeah.
City.
Yeah. The Wolves-Bournemouth game won't be on.
Yeah.
Because Wolves went through. Man United-Sheffield United won't be on because Man United went through. So I think I'm just thinking
the only games anyway.
But they're not.
Yeah. No. The only games I can think of are Villa West Ham, Spurs Fulham, I believe.
At the Cottage
Forest
as well.
Luton. Yeah. Sorry.
That's at the cottage. Sorry, just saying. Fancy Fulham there.
Forest Luton and Brentford Burnley.
Is that it in that
game? What a week!
Wow.
Yeah. Nothing. So, I mean, just
that's a free hit written all over.
Well, that's the thing. So that sounds like a free hit to me because I've got Arsenal players, I've got a Chelsea player, I do have 2 Spurs players, but I have a Man United player, I have Bournemouth players, I have, Liverpool players. Oh, not very many. So I don't have Liverpool players. But yeah, so it's basically, and then people like Brighton and that weren't playing. So Brighton and Man City and that already weren't playing. So.
But we don't know where these fixtures gone will go to then, Josh, I guess, at this point.
So we do kind of. So not guaranteed, but it seems like the teams who will double in game week 34 are Bournemouth, Crystal Palace, Everton, Man United, Newcastle, and Sheffield United. Yeah. And then the biggest double of the season will be game week 38, which is the last 37, which is the penultimate game week, which will be Arsenal, Brighton, Chelsea, Fulham, Liverpool, Man City, Spurs, and Wolves, all double that week.
Shit.
The only other one will be Chelsea and Spurs need to play again, and that will probably be in 35 or 36 on its own.
Yeah. So that game week 37, Arsenal are playing Man United at Man United. That also means that the chances are we're going to be playing Chelsea that week as well.
Yeah.
Fuck's sake.
Yeah.
To be fair, if going into game week 37, if you're going to have 2 games, you'd want it to be against 2 mid-table teams.
Yeah, totally.
Mid-table Mandem. My son refers to Man United and Chelsea as mid-table Mandem.
Yeah, so it's can potentially pretty juicy. So the thing about that is, if you've got your bench boost and your wild card and your free hit, which is what I have left.
Me too.
We're talking like captain. I'm going to want to use my bench boost in one of those weeks and my free hit in the other. That's what I'm going to want to do, and the wild card before both of those. But the problem is 29 is such a big blank game week that I might have no choice but to play it then.
Yeah.
And then what I'll have to do is wild card to set my team up for 34, so it has doublers.
Yeah.
So wild card in 32 or something to set it up for 34 for doubles, and then I'll just have to try my best for 37. The same 34. It's just bit of a nightmare. If you have your free hit and you can save it, I would use it for 37.
Really? Nah, I'm using it for that 4-match week.
But only, I always think triple captain is a waste to not do it on a week where the captain has got 2 games.
Yeah.
So maybe use one of those for the triple captain.
Yeah, it depends how many you've got left. Like if you have free hit and you're going to use that in 29 and you have your triple captain and bench boost, then that's fine because you can use free hit 29, triple captain in one of those weeks and bench boost in the other. But
and wild card, you could wild card in 37.
Yes, you could as late as that if you wanted to.
You can get double game weeks out of all of them.
Yeah, I recommend wild carding before 34 and then thinking ahead about, because you're going to want Man City and Arsenal and not Chelsea, but Man City and Arsenal and Liverpool players and things like that. Yeah, not Chelsea or Man United. So you're going to want those players anyway. So if they're in your team, prepared for 34 and 37. So it's just how it is.
Nice.
Anyway,
watch this space then. No.
Yeah. So if you can and you want to save it, my recommend for transfers is getting players from Spurs, West Ham, or Aston Villa. So your Bowens, your
Rodrigo Muniz, obviously.
Yeah.
He's doing very well, mate.
Yeah. Anyway, that's it. I've got nothing else to say. It's so
love that.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, well, I think that brings it to a close. Appreciate you coming back on, Steve, and the insight you've given us.
Always a pleasure. Always.
And the update on all of those bits and pieces is very interesting. There's lots for Man v Fat as a whole to be very proud of, and we're certainly proud of being part of the organisation and having our own little corner of it. So it's all good fun. So thank you very much, mate. We thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you very much.
And everybody else, have a great week, and thank you very much for listening.
Yeah, cheers, boys. See you next week.
Cheerio.
Bye.
Cheers.